I'm Donna Margolis. I'm the Director of Women's Philanthropy. You're going to hear much more from me soon. I just wanted to tell everybody that we are going to put all of you on mute for now, and we're going to get started in the interest of time and not having everybody on too late. So while there are so many people still joining, we'll continue to let them in, but we're going to get started with our program. And I just want to say it is so heartwarming and wonderful to see all of you here. I'm going to remind whoever's recording this session to push the record button, and we are ready to get started.
Good evening. I'm Jen Kolsky, and I am honored to be co-chairing the Milwaukee Jewish Federation Women's Philanthropy Annual Gathering together with Carrie Steinberger. It's wonderful that so many amazing women from Milwaukee's Jewish community are here tonight.
And I'm Carrie Steinberger. We have been hoping to be together in person at our annual luncheon this spring. Unfortunately, COVID-19 changed our plans. However, we are thrilled to be with you via Zoom this evening. We are going to have about 20 minutes of business before beginning our interactive program on emotional self-awareness with Jennifer Cohn. For the first time in our 64-year history, Women's Philanthropy is holding our annual event virtually. It is quite fitting that a unique meeting like this is happening at such a special time for our group. We have made so many amazing changes and tremendous progress over the year. Before we get started, I'd like to ask Jen to give us a short Devar Torah to introduce tonight's program.
This Thursday, the Jewish community around the world will observe the 9th of Av, a day that commemorates all of the tragedies that have befallen the Jewish people, the destruction of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem in particular. The temple was symbolic of our connection to God and the community of Israel. Its destruction symbolized the painful loss of that connection. Interestingly, in the middle of today's liturgy, there is a line that describes the day as a festival, a moed. The Talmud understands this to mean that despite the sadness of the day, it still has the potential to be a day of joy. The way to change this day from a day of sadness to a day of joy is to focus on our unity, our connections, and our collaborations with each other. When we work together as one community and look after those who are less fortunate, we will merit to see, experience, and feel real connection again. Women's philanthropy is a beautiful example of the joining together of women from throughout our Jewish community, united in a uniform goal to care for the needs of the Jewish people in Milwaukee, Israel, and around the world. Through our efforts, may we all see the fulfillment of what this time should really be, a day of joy, happiness, and celebration. I now welcome Women's Philanthropy President Cheryl Paley to present the year in review.
Thank you, Jen and Carrie, for leading this event tonight. You both agreed to chair this event back when life was normal, and I so appreciate your efforts to pivot and help ensure this could still happen. For those of you who don't know, Carrie holds many leadership positions within the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, including Women's Philanthropy Social Action Co-Chair, the Agency Review Council Co-Chair, a member of the Community Planning and Allocations, and the Jewish Women's Endowment Fund, and also serves on the Milwaukee Jewish Federation Board. Jen serves on our engagement committee and is the liaison to our Momentum program. Thank you both for all that you do. I am excited for you to be part of Women's Philanthropy Board this coming year. For all of you here tonight and those unable to attend, I want to thank you and recognize all of you for your compassion and your commitment to Jewish Milwaukee. We have come together in exceptional ways to benefit our community, especially over the past few months. And I so appreciate what each and every one of you has done and continues to do on behalf of so many others. As Carrie mentioned, this has been an exciting, albeit challenging year for women's philanthropy, filled with both changes and accomplishments. Before we get into what's new, I want to highlight some of our programming over the past year and thank everyone who helped to make things happen. We started our year with a leadership brunch, hosted by Marlene Lowasser. Most of our past presidents and campaign chairs came together in person to reminisce about women's philanthropy's past successes in order to help inspire our bright future. It was one of Donna's first events and a place where she was able to feel the history, power, and inspiration behind women's philanthropy. Next up was our Lion Palm event, co-chaired by Jody Sprinkman, Julie Rosenfeld, and our honorary chair, Marilyn Peltz. We all braved the treacherous sidewalks and roads to get there, and once again, we warmed the room with our energy and inner light. Momentum, a global program dedicated to inspiring Jewish mothers to live their most meaningful lives, came under the auspices of Women's Philanthropy this past year, and we are so excited about this new way to engage women in our community. While the Momentum 2020 trip will need to be postponed due to COVID, the past two groups continue to program and engage in our Jewish community. We look forward to when the next cohort is able to gather. In December, we gathered for our Hanukkah event. We were excited to help inaugurate the newly opened Friendship Cafe and Bakery and learn and share with each other. From Mara Lambert of High Lifeline, Rabbi Sherry Shama of the JCC, Terry Miller of Friendship Bakery Cafe, Trudy Circus of Bieber Camp, Kevin Bolin of Jewish Family Services, and Deborah Fields from Sojourner Family Peace Center, we were able to learn ways to enrich the holidays for our families while helping our community. Our Jewish spirituality class, led by our own Donna Margolis, explores topics that help us approach our rituals, family life, relationships, and personal growth through the lens of Jewish spirituality. All are welcomed as the class continues to meet weekly by Zoom. A special shout out and thank you to Julie Schnall for graciously hosting the class in her home for almost a year and a half, and also Julie for providing us with much needed guided meditation during this time. Ariel Berger was scheduled to speak at our Edie Edelman Political Awareness Lecture. He was going to present us with strategies for dealing with challenging times based on the teachings of his mentor, Elie Wiesel. Unfortunately, the lecture was unable to happen due to the pandemic, but we want to thank our volunteer committee who put much work into planning and promoting this event. During this hard time, Women's Philanthropy has been coordinating volunteers to call older adults and others in the community, letting them know we are thinking of them and seeing if we can assist them in any way. They have been so grateful for these calls, and the volunteers calling them have expressed how heartwarming the experience has been for them. Many thanks to the Women Philanthropy volunteers and their children who are making the calls. Together, we can make a difference. As we transition to virtual programming, we did discover a silver lining: greater access to wonderful opportunities for collaboration. Women's Philanthropy partnered with the Jewish Museum Milwaukee and the Illinois Holocaust Museum and Education Center to present a virtual tour of the exhibition Notorious RBG, The Life and Times of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Over 200 people gathered virtually for a fascinating exploration of the iconic Supreme Court Justice. A special thank you to Jody Sprinkman and Becca Goralnik for planning and promoting the event, and to Justice Rebecca Dallett for sharing opening remarks on how her own career was shaped by the pioneering work of Justice Ginsburg. I'm sure I speak for all when I say we wish Justice Ginsburg a refuah shlema, a speedy recovery. As you can tell, it has been a productive year thanks to all of our volunteers. I also want to give a shout out to our two full-time Women's Philanthropy professionals, Director Donna Margolis and Developmental Associate Robin Aronson. Thank you, Donna and Robin. As I sat and thought about how I wanted to present the year, I kept coming back to all the cooking and baking I have done during lockdown. When I look for new ideas, I research many recipes before deciding on the one. I usually follow the recipe exactly the first time, and after that, tweak it until perfection. Okay, maybe not perfection, but the way that works best for my family. As you will hear soon from Donna, that is a similar approach to what we took to re-envision Women's Philanthropy. After listening to all of you and many others, we were able to share with Donna our goals and aspirations. She listened, took notes, tweaked ideas, and came up with a well thought out and thorough plan, which we will continue to tweak. Before I turn it over to Donna, two more quick thank yous. To Miriam, thank you for always lending an ear and be able to eloquently articulate what I am trying to say. And to my partner in crime, thank you not only for sharing a name with me, but also this adventure. As Winston Churchill said, to improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. I don't believe in perfection, but changing to improve is always good. Again, onboarding Donna and Robin has allowed us to focus this year on re-envisioning who we are and reinvigorating Women's Philanthropy. I now invite Donna to share with you about the enhancements you can expect in the year ahead.
First and foremost, what I am about to present is the culmination of a process of deep listening within our community, and we have heard you. We heard that you want Women's Philanthropy to facilitate opportunities for all Jewish women to contribute to and purposefully help our Jewish community. You also asked for greater inclusivity to ensure all Jewish women who identify with the concerns of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation and the Milwaukee Jewish community are welcome. We have been striving to accomplish this, and our effort is evident as we have many new women participating in our event tonight. In order to achieve our goals, we have created a strategic and organized structure for our board. The Women's Philanthropy professional and volunteer leadership has worked very hard to develop a new slate of women to serve on the Women's Philanthropy board as vice chairs and committee members. Those committees will work together to build an inclusive community of women who actively promote, support, and fund the Milwaukee Jewish Federation's mission. The board will plan meaningful events, develop women leaders, and support the Federation's annual campaign. We thank our leadership, Cheryl Paley, Women's Philanthropy President, and Cheryl Moser, Women's Philanthropy Campaign Chair and President-elect, for guiding this process. This will now be a smaller working board with very specific roles. Each board member will participate in at least one of 4 areas of focus: development, social action, engagement, and leadership development. I extend a warm welcome to all of our new and returning board members. Thank you for partnering with us. I would also like to thank our past board members for your passion and your dedication to improving our Jewish world. A special thank you for your encouragement and your patience as we re-envisioned our board this year. A huge thank you to the past leadership of Women's Philanthropy for paving the way for a flourishing and dynamic organization of committed women who are united in kindness and in generosity. Finally, I would also share my appreciation for Cheryl Paley and Cheryl Moser for your partnership and your guidance throughout my first year as director. As a result of your outstanding leadership, Women's Philanthropy is poised to achieve new heights in the year ahead. Now to give you our most important campaign update is Cheryl Moser.
This year's campaign progress is yet again something for us to celebrate. Thanks in a large part to all of you and the rest of our committed Women's Philanthropy volunteers and donors. The Milwaukee Jewish Federation met its goal for the 2020 annual campaign. Together, we have raised more than $6.5 million to help fund organizations in our local Jewish community. I'm proud to share that this is a $50,000 increase from last year and our 6th annual increase in a row. Not only did we increase our campaign total this year, but we did it in the midst of a pandemic. This speaks volumes about the dedication, generosity, and sense of shared responsibility for our Milwaukee Jewish community. Our gratitude and sense of pride for this recent achievement propel us into our next campaign with energy and excitement. Thank you to all of our campaign volunteers who helped make our goals a reality. Also, thank you to those who purchased a bag of food for Jewish Family Services as part of tonight's event. These bags will make a real impact in the lives of families experiencing especially difficult times. As Cheryl and Donna already shared, there have been many important changes in women's philanthropy this past year. Our diverse group of talented women will work strategically to be effective in supporting our community's annual campaign under the leadership of Judy Cohn. We also look forward to rolling out new initiatives geared towards inspiring more volunteerism and philanthropy among our community and engaging more families in strengthening Jewish Milwaukee and Israel. Our Women's Philanthropy Development Team will play an important role in the Milwaukee Jewish Federation's campaign. This team works to expand the donor base and increase dollars raised through trainings, education, and event plans. I'm confident that Women's Philanthropy will make a meaningful impact in the year ahead, both financially and through the connections made. I'd also like to say a special thank you to the Jewish Women Endowment Fund, a women-led philanthropic fund that distributes grants in our community. This year's fund made the difficult decision to forego its normal grant process to support COVID-19 related needs. The Grants Committee donated $5,000 to the Greater Milwaukee Foundation's Milwaukee Response Fund and $25,000 to the Milwaukee Jewish Federation's Fund for Jewish Milwaukee. This was a tremendous show of support in meeting Milwaukee's most urgent needs. This is a testament to our support for the Milwaukee community, both in the present and the future. Thank you to the entire committee, and a special thanks to this year's Jewish Women Endowment Foundation's co-chairs, Robin Eisman and Nancy Appel, for guiding us with strength and clarity. Before we welcome our former Lion Committee Chair, Joan Lubar, I would like to take a moment to fully acknowledge and appreciate the incredible work that Joan is doing on behalf of our Jewish community. In addition to leading this effort, Joan is the chair-elect of the Jewish Federation and will become chair of the board next year. Joan also continues to co-chair our community's coordinated response to pandemic-related needs of individuals and organizations, which you will hear more about later. It is my pleasure to welcome Joan to highlight another critical piece in our fundraising efforts, our Forever Lion program.
Thank you, Cheryl. Congratulations on a successful campaign this year. Forever Lions have chosen to endow their annual Lion of Judah gift to the Milwaukee Jewish Federation's annual campaign by establishing a legacy gift of at least $100,000. When a woman becomes a Forever Lion, her gift will support, sustain, and build Jewish life into perpetuity. This endowment is designed to provide ongoing support for our annual campaign, thus ensuring the continued well-being of our Jewish future. This year, we benefited from 16 Forever Lion endowments that contributed over $455,000 to the 2020 annual campaign, which represents over 7% of the total $6.5 million campaign achievement. These legacy gifts are creating a safety net and vibrant Jewish life for every Jewish generation. We are extremely grateful for our Forever Lions' foresight and philanthropy. At this time, I'm truly honored to welcome two new Forever Lions into our Milwaukee Jewish Federation family, Susie Ettinger and my neighbor, Tanya Arbit. We thank Tanya and Susie for leading our community and look forward to honoring both of you in person sometime soon. I'm also thrilled to welcome Laurie Roth as our new Forever Lion chair. Laurie is wrapping up a successful 3 years of extremely hard work and selfless dedication to Jewish Milwaukee as the Milwaukee Jewish Federation's annual campaign chair. We're very fortunate that she's going to step into this new role and continue her ambition and strategy and gift us with leading the charge on our planned giving efforts. Thank you, Laurie. And now it is my pleasure to welcome Laurie's niece, Lindy Liberman, our incoming co-vice chair for leadership development and a past recipient of the Anna Gulnick Young Leadership Award, to announce this year's award winner.
Thank you, Joan. I appreciate that. Each year, Women's Philanthropy presents the Anna Gulnick Young Leadership Award to young women in the community who have demonstrated outstanding qualities of leadership, a deep awareness of and commitment to the challenges of Jewish communal life, and a dedication to ensuring the continuity of the Jewish people. I am really thrilled to announce that this year's highly deserving Anna Goleman Young Leadership Award recipient and my good friend is Jody Sprinkman. Jody is a Milwaukee native who grew up in Bayside and attended Nicolet High School and is a graduate of the University of Wisconsin School of Business. Jody worked in real estate in Chicago and Milwaukee before starting. She lives in Mequon with her husband, 2 children, both graduates of the Milwaukee Jewish Day School. Jody's volunteer and leadership roles are abundant, as you can see. We are especially grateful that Jody will be serving as Women's Philanthropy's incoming co-chair of engagement and is expected to be voted onto the Milwaukee Jewish Federation Board of Directors at the annual meeting on September 3rd. Together with her husband, Peter, Jody has also been a generous and steadfast supporter of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation's annual campaign. Thank you, Jody, for all that you do. We know you will continue to do great things in this community and for years to come. This is simply our announcement of your award. Just an announcement. We will officially celebrate you and your many contributions to our Jewish community and let you give your speech when we are in person together again. I now invite Milwaukee Jewish Federation President and CEO Miriam Rosenzweig to discuss the Federation's COVID-19 response, recovery, and rebuilding efforts.
Thank you, Lindy. On behalf of the entire board of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation and my partner in crime, leadership, Moshe Katz, I want to congratulate and say mazel tov to everyone on here and all the people who have done this incredible work, the leadership, the staff. This is really an amazing achievement. I want to share with you some of our response to COVID, and I'm so proud that our incoming chair of the board, Joan Lubar, is one of the co-chairs who's led this effort. The last several months, life as we know it has changed dramatically and in unimaginable ways. From the moment COVID-19 began affecting our Milwaukee Jewish community, we began leading a strategic, community-wide response. After all, this is who we are and what we've always been, the central community organization tackling the community's biggest issues. We immediately launched a $3 million fundraising campaign called the Fund for Jewish Milwaukee. It's one source of support for our entire Jewish community, from synagogues to day schools to the JCC. So far, thanks to generous donors, we are halfway to our goal. Among those donors are many of you, the women on this call who, as you heard tonight, donated $2,500 specifically to purchase bags of groceries that will be distributed by JFS. Now, there's no way I can tell you everything that has happened in the first distribution of the $1.5 million. But where is some of this money going? It's helping an elderly woman who is isolated from her synagogue to begin attending services remotely. It's helping a middle school child with special needs continue programming in his home. It's helping every single Jewish organization in our community save money by centralizing the purchase of PPE in bulk to receive volume discount pricing. And it's helping our Jewish organizations access and secure federal funding, over $10 million to date. The Fund for Jewish Milwaukee is not only about distributing financial support, we're also serving in a leadership role, thinking about what our Jewish community will be like, not just today, not just when we're out of this, but in 1, 5, and 15 years from now. How can we ensure that our Jewish community comes through this challenging time different, but still vibrant and strong? Future generations will look back and measure the character of our community and of our leadership by how we responded. And they'll measure us by a standard that was set 2,000 years ago in the Talmudic mandate, Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh B'Zeh. All Jews are responsible for one another. Together, we have done so much, but we still have a great deal more to do. If you haven't done so already, join me and consider contributing to the Fund for Jewish Milwaukee. You can find the link in the chat to donate in the fund right now. Thank you so much, and mazel tov.
Thank you, Miriam, and to everyone from Women's Philanthropy who participated in the business portion of this event. It is now our honor to introduce tonight's very special guest, Jennifer Cohn. Jennifer is the Senior Vice President of Leadership Development at Ratliff & Taylor, based in Cleveland, Ohio. She works with leaders and teams to be their best.
At every annual meeting, we relish being together as a community of dedicated women. We celebrate our accomplishments and share in the delight of connecting through kindness and giving from the heart. This year, though we can't be together in person, we still wanted to connect with each other. As such, we have asked Jennifer to lead a program, allowing us to gain personal insight and to bond more deeply with each other. Please join me in welcoming Jennifer Cohn. Jennifer?
Thank you. I appreciate that introduction. So we have to do a few mechanics to get my slide deck up. And I just need to make sure I have been made a co-host so I can share my slide deck. And I am going to do that.
Jennifer.
I think I can do it. We good? Everybody see the slide? Somebody give me a thumbs up. All right. So thank you so much for having me here. It's really fabulous. I feel like I am sitting and partaking in one of our Jewish Federation Women's Philanthropy events. So thank you. It's just really great to see the connection, the community, the feelings of kindness and support. It's in every community, and I think that's what makes our Jewish community so special. So tonight we have a program for you that is focused on really exploring your emotional intelligence and to give you some insights to what we feel and experience from an emotional perspective, and to assist you in thinking about how you want to lead with clarity, direction, and strength. So, you know, one of the things that we say in development, in leadership development, is awareness is what empowers us. So when we're aware, we gain insight into ourselves and what we want to be, what we might want to change, how we might want to grow. And so that's really what tonight is about, is to give you awareness to empower you to make decisions on maybe possibly making changes in how you think about emotions and feelings and how you respond. So the first thing I want you to do is think about your best self. And just like a fabulous noodle kugel, there are lots of different ingredients that make up who we are. But I want you to think about what really makes you your best. You know, maybe it's your experiences from work, growing up, any type of experience. It could be some expertise or talent that you offer. It might be your values. It could be emotions, your emotional intelligence. It could be how you communicate. It could be your personality. It can be your motivators. It can be your wisdom, your faith. There's so many different ingredients. And we are going to ask you to choose one in a poll. So we are going to put the poll up. And I'm going to ask my colleague, Erin, who's here to assist me. I think she can post that poll. And if Erin, you'll give me a cue that you have posted it. What I'd like you to do is just choose one ingredient that you think helps you be your best. You know, what's your awareness of what makes you unique, special, and brings out the best?
Hey Jennifer, can you make Erin a co-host quick?
Oh, I can certainly do that.
Thank you.
Can you actually make me host, Jennifer, and then I'll make you a co-host?
I will certainly do that. I thought that had already been done, but I guess not. And that's the joys of, and I have to find Erin. There you
If
are.
you click participants, there'll be a
I
list.
got it. I got it.
Okay.
I'm going to make you the host now. There you go. Sorry about that little technical glitch. All right. There you go. So you should be able to see the poll, and you've got choices and you can vote. And I just want you to choose one. Which one do you think is most important? Oh, I got lots of activity going on, lots of voting. Love it. And then once this is done, this is all done confidentially, so nobody's name is going to appear, but we will share the results of this poll. And we will see which ingredients you chose on what you think makes up your best, creates you. And we have about 66 people that have voted or done the poll. We're going to let it go for just a little bit longer so we can get as many of you to participate as possible. This is great. Fascinating. And I know I get to see all the results and you guys are just waiting. All right, so I'm going to give you about 3 more seconds to vote and then we can end the polling. So Erin, if you want to end it and share it. So you can see the results. And by far, the #1 choice was values. So, you know, values ground us and give us our meaning and our guidance. They're our North Star on how we want to act and behave. So that's great. But other ones, you know, everything else was chosen. Personality was big, our expertise and talents. So all of these things make up who we are. And a couple of you, 1 person chose emotions. Okay, so I got to find out who that person is. You can chat me if you want privately so I know who you are. So I consider my emotion also to be what makes me my best self. So, you know, emotional intelligence is a really big concept, but it does not define who we are. And as I've already tried to help you see and be aware, is there's lots of ingredients. And emotional intelligence, your EQ, your IQ, personality, there are so many parts of who we are. And we are going to touch on a very, very small part of what makes you, you, and what makes you unique, your emotional intelligence. But don't lose sight that this is a small piece of your whole person, of the whole you. So Daniel Goleman is a famous researcher in emotional intelligence. He's considered the father of emotional intelligence, 1 of 3. And he really kind of put forth that rules are really changing, where in the past, when I started my career, IQ was everything. Where you went to school, the pedigree you had, and how smart you were really how you advanced. That is not how it is anymore. It is all about how we handle ourselves, how we form connections, how we cultivate relationships, how we build trust. And all of those things have nothing to do with IQ. They have everything to do with EQ, with emotional intelligence. And that's why it's so important. So what is EI? A formal definition, very quick. It's a set of emotional and social skills that actually impact how we perceive things, ourselves and others, how we maintain our social relationships, how we respond to challenges, and how we use emotional information in addition to objective information in an effective and meaningful way. I like to share that it's a really simple model if you think of it as just SOS. It's all about yourself, both what's going on inside of you from an emotional perspective, how you express it, so that's the self, others, so the O is others, and then you have these situations and how you deal both for yourself, with others, and the situations, and how you respond and come up with solutions and how you handle yourself. And then there's one other ingredient that we put in there too, an extra S, and that's stress. How you leverage stress, how you respond to stress. Do you let it own you and control you, or do you let it motivate you and push you forward? We're going to go a little bit deeper into why EI is so important. So all the research, development, and performance really points that emotional intelligence is the differentiator of those who perform the best. And this is in community, this is in work, this is in education, this is in our families. It is really a key ingredient that helps differentiate us and take us to the top of our performance. It is a significant contributor to success for leaders. So lots of differentiating factor it brings. Any role that has people responsibility, EI really matters because you have to connect with people, and it all comes from your emotional intelligence. And what's fascinating is EI, emotional intelligence, is synergistic and amplifies all our other wonderful attributes, characteristics, competencies, skills, and abilities. So when you increase EI, you increase everything else. And it's fascinating that EI is not stagnant. Personality pretty much stays the same. Our IQ pretty much stays the same. EI is one area that we are able to grow and develop and improve if we want. So it is not stagnant. You can grow it, and it helps you grow other aspects of you. Maya Angelou has a beautiful quote that they won't remember what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that is emotional intelligence. That is why it's so important to understand it. Because when you are interacting with others, when you are leading them, when you are inspiring them, you have to impact them emotionally. You have to make them feel something. And you do it through your emotional intelligence. And you want to do it in a positive way and not in a negative way. And how we do it is all through communications. And many of you have probably seen this graphic of what really makes up communication. Very small percent, 7% is content, is the words. It is the tone of your voice and your body language that actually communicates way more. And it's all with a backdrop of emotions. So understanding how you communicate to be more effective is really important, and understanding your connection or the connectedness to emotion and what emotions you demonstrate is critical to inspire, to motivate, to connect, to build those relationships. So emotions are really just a way for our mind, for our brain, to help us understand what's happening. So in our mind, we are getting lots of information all the time, and our brain is processing it. And one of the things that it does is it attaches an emotion to help you understand, is this good information that I should move towards? Or is this something I should be afraid of, that I should be concerned about my safety and I should move away from? So all emotions really stem towards this desire to let you move forward to good things and to keep you away from things that are not safe and that could hurt you. That's the basics of emotions. This is probably one of my most favorite graphics to share when I talk about emotions. And it's from Abraham Hicks' work on emotions. And it's a really great chart that lists out many different emotions. It's not all encompassing. There are many more emotions. But what's nice about it is he puts them on a scale where you are either ascending, you have positive emotion, or you are descending, you have a negative emotion. And all emotions are natural and are what we experience all the time. Every moment that you are awake, you have an emotion that you are experiencing. And sometimes you have multiple emotions that you experience simultaneously. Ascending emotions are positive emotions that bring out our best when we think about emotional intelligence and our interactions with others. Descending emotions or negative emotions do not bring out our best. They don't let us think our best, they don't let us interact at our best, and they don't help us cultivate relationships. But it's very normal to experience both ascending and descending emotions every single day. We spiral up and we spiral down. And right in the middle is what we call being either above the line or below the line when it comes to emotions. When you are above the line, you are creating trust with others, you're sparking creativity, it's where we do our best thinking. When you are below the line, you are not getting trust, you're actually fomenting distrust, and you are actually not getting great thinking, you're really getting just whoever's in charge, we go with their idea. We scale up and scale down, but most of us really like 6 to 8 of these emotions. So we spend the majority of our time based on what feels good to us, what we like, whether it's ascending or descending. There are 6 to 8 that we each prefer. And what I prefer is going to be different than what each of you prefer. It's just kind of how naturally these emotions occur. They feel comfortable to us. And so we spend time in certain emotions. So an example, since none of you know me except for maybe Donna and my cohort Erin, if you knew me well, you would know that one of the things that defines me is I am very empathetic. So I have lots of empathy all the time for everybody, whether I know them or not. I am always empathetic. And so I spend a lot of time in the emotion of empathy. On the flip side, I also spend some time in a descending emotion. I'm actually can be a very judging person. And I know that about myself. And it's someplace that I go to and I have to work to get out of it and to stay above the line. So these emotions happen, we experience them, they're all natural, but a goal for a leader is to work to stay above the line. A goal for anyone who's working with others who wants to be their best is to stay above the line and to work most of the time in an ascending emotion, in a positive emotion. So I'm gonna stop speaking and I'm gonna ask you to chat just to get some engagement here. And I'll get to the left side and right side in a moment. That's a great question, Ruth, so thank you for bringing it up. But I'd like to hear, just what do you think are some of your emotions? I'm gonna put the chart back up, but chat to me, where do you think you might spend some of your emotional time? What are some of your favorite places? And it's okay, this is a no judgment zone, this is completely safe. If you like spending time below the line, it's okay. If you like spending time above the line, that's okay. Just share, an emotion or a couple that you really like. Oh, I love gratitude, so it's a great emotion. Learning, beautiful. Empathy, so I got a partner there, Carrie, who's seeking good. Curiosity, a beautiful emotion and a really good place to go. If you don't know where else to go, curiosity is right above the line. Humility, productivity, okay. Great emotions. And what's wonderful, all the emotions that are above the line are great places to be. They make us feel good, they make us productive, they engage us. So now my second chat is I want you to think about which emotion or emotions define how you lead. It might be the same of what you just said, or maybe it's something different. Some of us are really intentional about choosing where and how we want to lead. So for me, something that defines me that's different is I like to lead from optimism and curiosity. So I seek to understand by asking questions, that's curiosity. And I always like to have a vision of a future that's positive, that's good, even in dark, difficult times, like what we have right now. So I'd like to have you chat an outward focus, abundance, again, humility, passion. Michelle's organize, empowerment, and trust, lots of optimism. Yeah, actually I'll say optimism is one of the top leadership competencies that is needed by leaders, particularly in crisis situations. People are looking to you to share the facts, but still give hope that things will work out. We will move forward. We will solve the problem. Okay, excellent. Happiness, these are beautiful. I hope we save this chat because it's really got great stuff in it already. All right, so we're gonna do our first breakout group and I'm gonna explain the breakout group process. You're gonna be put into a small breakout group, 3 people, because we want you to have time for a meaningful conversation. It's gonna be 6 minutes long. Everybody gets 2 minutes each to speak. And your questions are, do you spend more time above or below the line? Which emotions do you like being in and do they serve you well? And if there was an emotion that maybe you don't experience on any frequent basis, would you like to maybe explore more and see if you could shift yourself to be there more? So 3 questions. We'll put you into your breakout group, 2 minutes, go in alphabetical order. So do a quick introduction if you don't know each other, and then just go in alphabetical order so you don't have to worry about who goes first, who goes second, who goes third. Everybody's gonna go into a breakout room, I think Erin and I will be the only people that stand back. We're going to monitor. So if you by chance are the only person in a breakout room, we will move you. So don't worry. And if it just is two of you, have a good conversation. You get to go a little bit deeper with each other. We will bring you back automatically. And all you have to do is accept your breakout room when Erin puts you, when she kind of starts them going. Are there any questions on the breakout process? And I promise when we come back, I'll do the left brain and right brain, because I realized I didn't say that. All right, Erin, if you'll start the breakout rooms and enjoy your conversations and you're connecting with each other. And I can't wait to hear a little bit about what you discussed when you come back.
Everyone's back, Jennifer.
Okay, great, thank you. So I hope you had some nice self-aware conversations of sharing and connecting, and that you learned a little bit more about the people that you spoke with. So I know this is really hard. We have a lot of people participating, but I didn't know if there was one person. You can just raise your hand visually and we will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. Anybody who would just like to share maybe a little insight of what you got out of your conversation? Anything that hit you specifically? Anybody want to share something? And then, like I said, you could just raise your hand. I'm looking to see if I can find anyone. Anybody will? Thank you. Rebecca, go for it.
Sure, I will do that. So I had a wonderful chat with my very, very dear, I don't want to say, she's not old, she's an old friend. One of my first friends when I moved to Milwaukee is Heidi Goodman. And actually Heidi was really responsible for me getting involved with the Federation. She was one of the first people who recruited me, and she's just wonderful. So can't say enough good things. But we both actually had in common that we're both half glass full, optimistic people. And that's really served us well. But we could both use a little extra enthusiasm right now. And I think that's circumstantial. So that was what we came up with.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to touch a little bit about what we are experiencing now and give you a framework to think about it. Okay, so really quick, left brain, right brain. So EI is not so into the left brain, right brain. It doesn't really impact it. Left brain, right brain is really talking about your prefrontal cortex. So kind of your rational thinking brain. And there's different aspects to it, creative versus analytical. That's the left side and the right side. EI is in a different part of your brain. And actually, it's a great time to go to the next slide because I can show you exactly what I mean. So your emotional intelligence, the neuroscience behind it is really buried in your brain. And the prefrontal cortex is literally what's behind your forehead. That's your rational thinking brain, objective thinking, reading, writing, all that kind of stuff. And there is a left and right side to that. Your emotional intelligence is not part of your prefrontal cortex. It's part of your limbic brain, which is right in the center of your brain. And it's one of the oldest parts of your brain. And that's where your emotions reside. And so emotional intelligence is actually when you use your limbic brain and your prefrontal cortex to think, to respond, to assess situations, and to move forward. So emotionally intelligent leaders, it's not all limbic brain thinking, and it's not all prefrontal cortex thinking, it's both. They use both parts of their brain. And sometimes you might do more analytical, and sometimes you might need more emotional, and sometimes it could be really balanced. But it's where you pull on both parts of your thinking, this emotional and the rational, and you put them together. When you are in ascending emotions, your brain moves you to the prefrontal cortex. When you are in descending emotions, you get stuck more in your limbic brain and you pull more on those emotions and the negative emotions. And that's why we are not our best when we are angry or resentful or in frustration or impatient. Anything that's negative keeps us from engaging both the limbic and the prefrontal cortex. Also, the prefrontal cortex, as I said, is related to trust. you evaluate trust in a rational way. Distrust is housed in your limbic brain, and it's part of an emotional response, not a rational response. So very interesting that trust and distrust happen in two distinct parts of your brain. And remember I said emotions are all about keeping you safe. If the brain feels you're safe, it lets you go and start thinking rationally and solving problems on your own. If it thinks you're not safe, it actually activates a part of your brain called the amygdala. And that is where many of you have heard of the fight, flight, or freeze reflex. That's where that is housed. It's in your amygdala. And once the amygdala takes over, no thinking gets done except in the amygdala, and you only have three choices. You either will fight to defend yourself, you will flee to get out of the situation, or you will freeze because you are so overwhelmed and you don't know what to do. That is an amygdala, what we call an amygdala hijack. But remember, descending emotions really get you stuck in that limbic brain. The ascending emotions help you move and to get to the prefrontal cortex so you can have both the limbic and the prefrontal cortex working in concert. Your best thinking, your best self happens then. One other geek out. So this amygdala, what happens when it takes over? Well, sometimes it takes over really strong, and we call that amygdala hijack. And it's when we sense danger, we go into some survival mode. Now, that is how we have survived over thousands of years. So when we detect danger, it kind of takes over, and we get very, very strong rushes of emotion. And it's all about defending ourselves. And literally what happens is when you have an amygdala hijack, the hormone of cortisol comes out. It's the stress hormone. It gets you going and protects yourself. But what happens is when we have cortisol flowing through our bodies, fear, power, uncertainty, all the distrust, it's all about the fear network, because all the brain's trying to do today's world, we don't work or have jobs that are dealing with safety issues. Not all. Some people are in situations where their amygdala needs to kick in to protect them. But it doesn't help us when we're in the boardroom and our amygdala goes off, or we're giving a presentation and our amygdala goes off, or we're having a conversation with our partner or our kid or a fellow community member, and we start getting kind of an amygdala hijack. We really want to stay in that trust network, on the trust side, the ascending side, because that's where we have relationships, understanding, shared success. And the hormone that secretes out of our body is oxytocin, which is all about bonding. That is the hormone that when babies are born, and we breastfeed a child for the very first time, oxytocin is flowing through the mother to the newborn as part of the very first moment of nursing. And that creates the bond. Same thing happens with all of us today. We feel when others are secreting their oxytocin, and we build trust with those people. And it's all done through ascending emotions. We have to learn how to keep our composure, though, when we start feeling our amygdala go off. So, you got to keep calm. And it's something that we have to work at, and it's called emotional self-management. So if you have the awareness of all those emotions, ascending and descending, and you feel them and you experience them and you know them and we honor them, because they're all part of who we are. Yet understanding that those negative emotions don't serve us in the situation to the best of our abilities, we have to learn to shift. So we always have stimulus coming in. The brain automatically attaches an emotion. In this example, I'm going to say we're frustrated. For whatever reason, you're interacting with somebody and they're frustrating you. Learning to stop and really pausing when you have a descending emotion and saying, does this really serve me? Will this help me be the best? And if you answer yes, then, stay in frustration. But if you think it's not going to serve you and others, you have to stop. And you can actually slow down. You can take a belly breath, breathe in and out. And you can even say to yourself, wow, I am really frustrated right now. What is causing me this frustration? You can ask yourself questions. You can actually talk to that amygdala. Hey, amygdala, calm down. This is not a safety situation. I need to get a control of myself. And then you can interpret and you can say, what is the best emotion for me? Where do I want to go? What would be a better place, a better emotion, a better ascending emotion? And you could say patience. And you could say, you know what? I need to exhibit patience, not frustration. And literally, these steps can shift you from a descending emotion, from an amygdala hijack, and get you above the line. One thing I'll say is, if you never know where to go to curiosity. It's a baseline emotion. It's right above the line. And curiosity is all about asking questions to understand. You can ask questions of yourself. You can ask questions of another person. The shift of going to curiosity, just asking questions, puts you automatically above the line. It puts you in the prefrontal cortex. You get out of the limbic brain, you start getting into the prefrontal cortex. You're in an ascending emotion and you're not descending anymore. So it's a very powerful technique to use. Breathing really helps calm us down. A simple breathing technique that you can practice is inhaling for a shorter count and exhaling for a longer count. And this longer exhalation activates the vagus nerve, which actually slows us down. It decreases heart rate, our breathing, and it calms us down. And so we don't have a lot of time, but I just want to practice it for a couple of breaths in and out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to inhale for 4. I'll count for you, and then we'll exhale for 6. We'll just do it a couple of times in and out. So why don't you take a big breath in, 2, 3, 4, and now exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Inhale one last time, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if you want, you can keep on breathing like that, just to relax. It will actually probably help you go to sleep nicely tonight. But it's a wonderful technique to calm you down if you feel your emotions getting a hold of you in a way that you don't like, and to keep your composure. So really just think through, where you want to be emotionally to be the best person that you are. When you're in a descending emotion, I have those listed on the left. The antidotes of where to go are their exact opposite, the positive, the ascending emotion. And I have those listed here. There's also a wonderful book by Larry Sen, Up the Mood Elevator. So if any of you are interested and you want to learn more about it, it's a really simple book, and it really goes into this whole ascending and descending and this emotional self-awareness and that emotional self-management. And it's a great read. And I always make a money-back guarantee. So if you buy this book and you do not like it, email me and I will send you a check for that book. Okay? And you just have to send it to me. And I've never had a book returned. I've never had to pay out, but I'm willing to do it. It's a great book. So Anne Frank had a quote, "Feelings can't be ignored, no matter how unjust or ungrateful they seem." And I think this goes for both internally, our own feelings, sometimes we're unjust and ungrateful, and you can't ignore them. So don't ignore your descending emotions. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I want you to honor them and really question, do they serve me in some way? And when someone else seems unjust, ungrateful, when they're in a descending emotion, seek to understand where they are coming from. That's how leaders connect. That's empathy. That's compassion. That's how we build relationships. That's how we understand. That's how we get through civil discourse when we disagree on really hot, hard topics. So thinking about this emotional self-awareness, this emotional self-management, leaders, if they want to be their best, and I know all of you want to be your best because I heard you all speak of the wonderful things that you're doing. If you want to inspire, to motivate, to solve problems, think about leading from above the line. Know that's where you have your strength, your confidence, your power. That's where you influence, you persuade, you get people to follow you when you do it from above the line. There are 2 exercises in the packet that are for post-program to go further into understanding your emotions. And one of them is just reflect on situations that you've had where you had an ineffective emotion and then what would have been a more effective one. Just thinking and reflecting helps you respond differently. And then I have a whole self-assessment exercise that you can do where maybe you did not do your best and you really want to change it. You would want to handle it differently in the future. And I have a bunch of questions in the spirit of curiosity to help explore what you could do differently. So I said I had want to take a moment to acknowledge what's going on. We have a lot of emotions. And I got to tell you, it is really normal to be spiraling up and spiraling down. It is okay if you are finding more time in the descending emotions right now. That is really normal in a crisis. Amy Cuddy, who is a wonderful social scientist at Harvard, some of you might know her from her TED Talk. She's the person who did the Wonder Woman pose. She's got a great thought leader. She has put crises into 3 psychological phases. And all of you will understand this because this is what we have experienced with COVID, with the pandemic, with all the racial inequality, everything that's happening to us, our kids, the situation with the kids in the schools and what's going on. These are crisis upon crisis, layered on crisis. There are 3 stages we go through and our emotions are totally attached to them. First, we tend to go to an emergency stage or phase. So, we got to handle things, clear goals, you're energized, you're focused, you might even feel you're productive. And this is like in March when we were going and we were buying lots of toilet paper and getting our houses stocked or learning how to work from home. Lots of energy in this emergency phase of a crisis. Okay. And there was probably optimism because we thought it was going to be over soon. And we thought there were a couple of things we needed to do and spending time at home for 2 months would work and we'd be over it. Okay. And many people were really productive. But then as crises move on and they linger and they last longer and there are more uncertainty, more challenge, many will fall into regression. And this is all below the line. We get tired, we're irritable, we're frustrated, withdrawn, less productive, everything. We are living in our limbic brain and a lot more amygdala flare-ups here. All natural. And a lot of us are in regression most of the time. The last phase is recovery. And that's when we start feeling we're reorienting, we kind of have clear new goals that we can focus on. We're getting used to this new place that we're at. I'm not calling it normal because it's not, it's just a new place. And we're getting by. We're making forward progress. And we actually spend more time in the ascending emotions than the descending. All 3 are normal. You may be fluctuating in a day. You could go through all 3. You might stay in one for a while. All normal. All related to your emotions and where you are at in that spiral. And so we're going to ask you to answer this poll. So if Erin, if you will put this out there, I just want to know where each of you are at and think about where you're at. And right now, and you can choose phase 1, 2, or 3, or maybe you're between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. So we've been doing this poll in almost every program now that we do with people to check in, to see where they're at. In my organization, we'll always ask people, what phase are you in? What's going on for you? And everybody knows this. And so it's a way that we talk about what we're experiencing and what we're feeling each day. And somebody might say, you know what, I'm in phase 2. I don't think I can stay in this meeting, or I can't get something done today. And we say, that's okay. So it gives us some language, simple language, to communicate where we're at emotionally, but almost in a non-emotional way, because we can just say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Okay, we need a few more of you to vote or to select your option, and then we will share where people are at, and you'll see the span, the range of where people are at right now in these 3 phases. So Erin, you can go ahead and end the poll, and you can share the results. So this is not unlike what we see with other groups. Usually a closeness in those that are regression and recovery. We are seeing an uptick in more regression, people saying they're more in phase 2 right now. And then lots of people who are between phases, whether it's phase 1 and 2 or phase 2 and 3. So a really interesting way to think about our emotions and crises and what we all are experiencing right now and what everyone is experiencing. And you can even think about, if I am in regression, maybe I need to focus a little bit on trying to move to recovery. And those are the ascending emotions. And what could I do to be in the ascending emotions? It could be practicing breathing, good healthy habits, trying to bring more optimism or gratitude into your life. All those things shift you. So we're going to put you into the final breakout group, and these are going to be random generated again. So you will probably not be with the same people. We wanted you to connect with more. And all we want you to share this time is your phase. And have you noticed any shifting factors where you've moved up or down those phases? Phase 1, 2, 3, back, forth, whatever. And if you have time, suggestions that you might have for the people who need to be in recovery phase and how to get there. What you're doing to maybe be in recovery more than any other place, any other phase.
Hey, Jennifer, I don't think we have time for this breakout group, actually.
Oh, okay, I will check. Is that what our hosts are telling us? Okay.
Yeah.
So I am sorry that we don't have time to do it. Thank you for letting me know. Something for you to think about though. Reach out to some of the women that are here and ask them where are they at. Use some of this language and check in with each other. Even post this meeting. Reach out and connect with people. So just to tie it together, in your packet, I give you some ideas on how to write some goals and how to take action. Take 1 or 2 things that you learned tonight and put it into a plan. Something that you can focus on doing to expand your knowledge and continue your learning. And you'll see that in the packet. It's not hard to do. There are 4 books also provided in your packet if you want to go a little bit deeper and get more wisdom. And then I'm going to ask, this poem takes about 90 minutes to read. And I don't know if they want me to read it or if they would prefer that we just have everybody read it on their own. So if you could chat and just let me know. And I will say that the handout did not have everything. You will be given the slides. After the program, all the slides will be shared so that you have all the content from the program. Okay, so I've been told that we need to wrap up. I would really encourage you to read this beautiful poem by Jan Phillips. It's When a Wise Woman Leads. And everything that you said at the beginning of the program about what you've accomplished is because you are wise women who are leading in your community. So I really encourage you to read the poem when you get a chance. It's been wonderful to be with you. And I thank you for your time and your attention. Have a good evening. Oh, and thank you for the person applauding me. Thank you, Heidi. I love it.
Jennifer, thank you so much. I'm going to let you stop sharing your screen and.
Oh, that's right. Let me do that.
Okay. And you can spotlight me, and then I'll just close things up for everybody.
You got it.
Thank you. Thank you. That was so amazing. There was so much going on in the chat that was interesting, and the slides. My phone has been very busy taking lots and lots of pictures until I realized that you were going to send them out to everybody anyway, but I'm happy to have them on my phone too. I learned so much from you, and just want to thank you because it was so poignant and so very to what we're all going through. And I think, as Miriam posted in the chat, and I agreed with her, it's those phases that we all go through. They can change by the minute, by the hour, by the day. So we're sort of like, depending on when and where you find us, we're somewhere in between. So just even knowing and learning from you, Jennifer, that this is so normal, I think was so helpful to us. And then to make sure that we have opportunities like this to connect with each other and to reach out to our friends and people that we don't see often, and make sure that we invest in these opportunities for connection. I thank you so much. It was a beautiful program. And I'm just going to wrap up with one more thank you, and that's to Jen Kolsky and Carrie Steinberger for co-chairing this absolutely wonderful event, and to all of you for joining us. It was wonderful. I loved being with all of you. I loved seeing with you. I miss you, and I can't wait to see you in person very, very soon. Thank you and good night.